the hit on the insurance agency, the lawsuits, the panic, the demands, it would be catastrophic to the power structure that has given enormous amounts of money, for example, to Barack Obama's 2 campaigns. His major donors were out of, or his major donor was out of the nuclear industry. All these small towns that have a nuclear reactor, where it is the major employer in the area, there's tremendous pressure through the Chamber of Commerce and we're not going to talk about anything going wrong there because it will hurt the economy. But, the economy, money is not going to save people from what gets done to their physical bodies as a result of exposure to this. And once you've been exposed, you can never not be exposed to it. There are steps that can be taken to help strengthen the body and to help detoxify the body, but you will never go back to that state neutrality of not being exposed. And quite frankly, at this point, I don't know if there are people on this planet who have not been exposed to radiation from the bomb tests, from what came down from the jet stream in rain and snow, from the radiation that is still up there from the atmospheric tests. There are people have said to me, well, where do you go? And the answer is there really is no place. Right. You can get away, but you never know what you're getting yourself into. For example, those people in St. Louis moved to what they thought was this nice residential, quiet, out of the city neighborhood, not knowing what was right there. And quite frankly, where I live is not far from the Santa Susana Field Laboratory, which was the site of a Rocketdyne experimental reactor meltdown of 13 fuel rods back in 1959 in an uncontained, so they just let that stuff out. And I've been
and actually, you know what? I know about that because I'm from Los Angeles. This friend of mine and I, when we got involved in the Fukushima awareness thing, this whole thing, he actually, because he's from Van Nuys, his mother, his father, his brother, two of his brothers and his sister all died from cancer. All of them. And we dug out some reports, and we read this report that the government actually allowed an 18-year-old to make a decision whether to release the radiation into the air or not. An 18-year-old had to make that decision.
Well, I'm sure that the chain of command pushed it as far down. If they could have given it to a janitor, they would have.
That's actually probably true, Libby. That's probably true.
When it comes to nuclear, I had an interviewee, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Byron DeLear is one of the activists. He's also running for office down in the North St. Louis area. But he talked about the nuclear hot potato. And truly it is. It's a radioactive hot potato. Because if they admit to how bad it is, every place they've been lying about it, people are going to be forced out of their denial and forced to face it. And there will be rage, there will be panic. I know what I went through, even with 3 Mile Island in my background, even with having gone through the Cold War. Fukushima led me on a journey, and nuclear hot seat has led me on a journey to some ugly realizations about the genuine nature of the power structure in this country and how it doesn't care for us. It doesn't care for me. And I think that's one of the hardest things to give up, because anyone who comes in the pathway of this issue and tries to get justice, tries to get remediation, tries to get action, tries to get anything, suddenly discovers for themselves the hard way that systemically this government does not do what America is supposed to do, which is to protect its people, help us nurture ourselves to good lives. We have become a mean, angry, money-obsessed, hating, vision-suppressing country that will do anything to preserve its economy at the risk of life and health.
Right.
And
it's money over people. It's very clear. Money over people, 100%. We are assets. In fact, people are considered assets. We're not considered, there's no dignity. There's no human respect. If there were, really what the government needs to do is apologize. I mean, that's the interesting thing. If they had any integrity, they would just draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this is the reality. We've made some pretty grave mistakes, but we're going to hold hands and work through this together, and we're going to be honest, and we're going to address your needs. And not everybody's needs are going to be addressed. That's the real sad issue. It's so catastrophic. It's so big. Not everybody is going to be helped. And it is really unconscionable. And you're right. People feel like my own children, they don't want to think about it. But, what's funny is my daughter said to me, because I got off of Facebook, I got very sick of the hating on Facebook. And she said, Mom, if you don't post on Facebook, my friends don't see your posts. They don't comment, but they're all talking about it. They all know it's real.
That's so important. And especially the young kids, because this is their legacy. We have traded 70 years of the illusion of cheap energy, which it is absolutely not. We have traded 70 years of the nuclear lies and the nuclear sociopathy and psychopathy for the genetic future of our children, and I say that inclusively because I will take that position as well, at least not from my body, but they're my kids too. Yeah. And that doesn't end. It continues on. And we do not know how even the current levels of exposure are going to play out through the generation.
Well,
that's
it's
the scary.
Really, I think we do know what's going to happen. I mean, we're going to have a really reduced population. We know that it causes sterility. If not this generation, the next and the next. My friend Louise, but look
at the number of people who have to go to in vitro fertilization now. They're not making the connection that maybe IVF is connected with you got exposed to some radiation. It's like, is the autism epidemic that's happening to our children, is that related to it? What about weird allergies? Peanut butter and jelly used to be a staple for kids. Now peanut butter kills. How did that happen?
Right.
And it's not that radiation is the only aspect of this, but the one thing that is never talked about, that is never included in the equation, is radiation.
That's actually so true, Vivi. That's so true. They really don't. My own sister lives right next door to 3 Mile Island. She had 7 children. Yeah, she grew up right in, what's it called? That little
Middletown?
Town. No, it's not Middletown.
Middletown.
It's Harrisburg. I guess it's called Harrisburg.
Yeah, Harrisburg's a little bit larger. It's a little further away, but yeah, Harrisburg's right there.
Yeah, but she actually but she's moving now straight to near 3 Mile Island. Her daughter lives up there, and she has 2 of her children have autistic children. The other 2 of her children have some kind of learning disabilities. And I said to her, it's probably from living near the radiation. She's like, well, it comes from everything. Who knows? It's probably from their family history. They probably have this and they never knew it. And that's what the nuclear liars depend on. They depend on us blaming ourselves, blaming our genetics, and not, accepting that this has just got to happen. It's unconscionable.
Yes, it is. And as regards 3 Mile Island, are you familiar with the work of Joe Mangano, who does epidemiological studies of different areas? Okay. Yeah. He did a study about 3 Mile Island and discovered that the highest rate of, I should probably look this up, but it's the highest rate of either leukemia or thyroid cancer in the country is within 50 miles of 3 Mile Island. The highest in the country.
Wow.
Okay? Invisible, because he had to go in and tease that information out from existing statistics, because getting that kind of research funded doesn't happen, because what's in it for anybody to do that research other than to foul their own nest for any further funds for research? So no school is going to back it. We need We need some Hollywood millionaires and billionaires to say, okay, let me crowdfund this piece of research. Let's find out what's going on over there. Let's somehow put a little bit of money into the bake sale budget that has been funding this movement, this anti-nuclear movement, this movement for nuclear conscience, for God's sake, for nuclear responsibility. That's the thing that our government is not doing. We're not taking responsibility for anything. It's kind of, oh, it's that guy over there. Oh, well, I was forced to. Oh, the devil made me do it.
Yeah.
They make it. Nobody steps forward and takes responsibility. There's no place where the buck stops.
Yeah, well, that's the Price-Anderson Act, isn't it? I mean, that's really, at least in our country, that's what we have with the Price-Anderson Act. Nobody's responsible. That's like, did you see the hearing last month with Barbara Boxer? They did an oversight of the NRC, and evidently in the last few months, the NRC has approved Southern California Edison's to request to not have an emergency plan. They are not required now to have an emergency plan. And the head of the NRC, Mr. Burns, actually literally said, well, we felt it was too heavy of a burden because all of our plants are only designed for plants that are in operation. And San Onofre is not in operation, so we felt it would be an unlikely burden. Barbara Boxer split a gut at that hearing, but that's this is the person who's actually saying, when I was watching this man say these words, I'm like, how can he possibly say those words, that the risk of an earthquake in California is so low that they thought it was too heavy of a burden?
They're not acknowledging the radiation danger posed by all those spent fuel rods, which are jammed into the spent fuel pools. And I hate calling them spent, because that means, they're dead, they're flat, they're over.
Right.
Nuh-uh.
Right.
Every one of them contains weapons-grade plutonium. And now, what Southern California Edison is attempting to do, with the NRC's complete approval and backing, we can talk about federal agencies and what they actually do, which is nothing on behalf of the people. But with the NRC's backing and approval, they are planning to buy for dry cask storage the absolute cheapest tin can, thin canisters possible that have no means of being repaired, no means of taking monitoring of what's going on inside, and they're only 5/8 of an inch of metal, of steel. That's the only thing that is shielding them, and that steel is vulnerable to corrosion from the sea environment. Donna Gilmore with SanOnofreSafety.org has got lots of reports on this if people want to check up on it. Yeah, she does phenomenal work. And this is all dangerous.
Really it's true. Her website is a treasure trove of information. And actually, I believe that those casts are being used throughout our country. Those half-inch casts, like there's one up here that's leaking. We know it's leaking up at the Columbia Generating Station. But the utility is telling us, well, it's just a small leak. We don't think it's affecting anything. So when it becomes a problem, then they're going to deal with it. I mean, it isn't...
and nobody ever defines, where do we cross the line from it's not a problem to a problem? It's like when they use the word significant. Oh, there's no significant danger. Would you please give me a number for that? What is the numeric difference between significant and not significant? What's the percentage? Who draws that line? Who gets to determine that? It's like when they say, well, there's no immediate danger. In truth, they're right. There's no immediate danger, but 3 to 5 years leukemia and thyroid cancer, 10, 12, 15 and onward hard cancers. In Westlake, in the Coldwater Creek area in North St. Louis, they have something over 40 cases of appendix cancer. Nobody's ever even heard of appendix cancer, but they've got appendix cancer in a cluster there. And what's interesting is that I truly believe that what is happening in North St. Louis and the diligence of the activists there, especially the moms groups, my God, there's nothing more ferocious than a mom whose children are being threatened. They have, as of